to the EFF's Floyd Shivambu, wearing the colours of the economy, firmly in the red. The minister admitting that South Africa is in some tough financial times, but promising to re-go. Do you trust the minister in those promises, in those goals in terms of to rebuild the economy?
Look, we do not think that what the minister said is going to rescue South Africa from the massive economic downturn that it's confronted with now. So overall, our assessment is that his medium-term policy statement is underwhelming in the manner in which that it has given the correct diagnosis in terms of lower revenue base, low economic growth, but there's no believable strategies in terms of how do we then reignite economic activity in South Africa to achieve maximum growth. But there's no also clear plan in terms of how do we collect maximum revenue. I mean, you cannot speak about revenue collection in South Africa without speaking about the phenomenon of tax avoidance and illicit financial flows, because all indications point to the fact that South Africa is losing not less than 50 billion rands due to illicit financial flows and tax avoidance. So we had expected that is going to speak to that as well. But also we need a clear plan in terms of how do you reduce the debt to GDP ratio. We're now approaching 60% of debt in relation to the GDP in South Africa, and it looks like there's no plan in terms of how do we reduce that. So once we get to 100%, then we are a basket case of the IMF and World Bank who are going to dictate our economic policy, and that is not a desirable situation. So we needed some assurance that there's going to be some reduction in terms of the debt to GDP ratio. But another warning shot which is firing, which is worrying to workers, is his constant complaint about the wage bill in terms of how it is in the public service. And it's almost suggesting that ultimately government is going to reduce the public service. And that is extremely dangerous, because we've got crisis levels of unemployment, and already there's beginning to be some innuendos and connotations that the public service is going to be reduced. So workers must be on guard, must be aware that the minister intends to ultimately reduce the public service, and that is not a good thing to do. Instead, what should happen, there must be reprioritization of people that are in the public service to perform government and state functions, because what most of the public servants currently do is just to be supply chain managers and issuing out contracts to do the work which otherwise they're employed to do as public servants. So there must be reprioritization and refocus of the public service instead of unemploying them in the manner in which it is said. So you can save billions of rands if you were to cut out consultants and advisory services and tenderpreneurs. We offer a lot of services, or almost all services to the state, which there are people who are employed to perform those functions. So that is our observations. And then of course, we should welcome as the EFF that there is beginning to be progressive introduction of free sanitary towels. The EFF is the original political party that came with the program that said that we must provide free sanitary towels to all South Africans who deserve to gain access to free sanitary towels. So in that direction, we welcome as the EFF. It's a progressive move, and it comes from our policy positions.
The minister spoke about graft, particularly at municipal level, eating away at the fiscus, affecting services, using the VBS issue as a drawing point for that. You also said those who are found guilty of graft should be serving long prison sentences. Do you agree with that?
I fully agree that those that are found guilty in terms of the VBS matter must be sent to prison. More especially the municipal managers that took money of municipalities and deposited in a mutual bank with the knowledge that they are not supposed to do so. But also there must be those that received the money from municipalities knowing that they are not supposed to do so. And we must also hold those that were in national treasury accountable, who for 4 years knew that municipalities are taking money to deposit in mutual banks without the permissibility to do so. We must also hold the regulator, which is the South African Reserve Bank, accountable for allowing a bank to exist with monies from municipalities, whilst they knew from the beginning that this bank is not supposed to accept municipal deposits. So there must be a holistic solution to the VBS crisis, because if you want to focus on one area of the problem only, you won't be able to resolve the holistic problem that confronts the South African society in terms of the banking space and in terms of what should happen. But also we welcome that the minister says that the model of VBS, of giving housing mortgage to rural communities, of a financial system and a bank that gives access to rural communities must be maintained, because that in the first state has been the position of the EFF, which he has reaffirmed and of course has dispelled some myths that were being spread around the VBS issue, and we're happy about that. And the firm position which we stated in the debate yesterday is that all those that were found doing wrong in VBS must be held accountable. If it means prison sentence, they must be sent to prison, and all the monies that were lost must be recovered.
Floyd Shivambu there of the EFF.